The crystalline spires of the Vexeri diplomatic vessel glinted like frozen lightning against the backdrop of Earth's atmosphere. Admiral Elena Torres stood at the observation deck of the International Space Station's new diplomatic wing, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the alien ship maneuver into position. 30 years of military service hadn't prepared her for this moment. Humanity's first official reception into the galactic community. "They're certainly fond of putting on a show," remarked Captain James Rodriguez, her second in command, as holographic displays rippled across the alien vessel's surface, creating cascading patterns that seemed to defy physics itself. "Peacocks," Elena muttered, though her tone remained professional. Every feather perfectly placed to remind everyone else who's in charge. The Vexeri had arrived 6 months ago, presenting themselves as the peacekeepers of the galaxy. Their initial messages spoke of upliftment, of bringing humanity into a greater civilization. But Elena hadn't survived 3 major conflicts by taking things at face value. The diplomatic chamber filled with representatives from Earth's nations, all dressed in their finest. The air hummed with anticipation as the Vexeri delegation prepared to make their entrance. Elena took her position beside the United Earth Council's chairwoman, Ambassador Maya Patel. When the Vexeri entered, the room fell silent. Their crystalline exoskeletons caught and refracted light in impossible ways, creating aureoles of color that seemed to dance around them. High Arbiter Zexfon, their leader, moved with liquid grace, his translucent form shifting through colors that human eyes could barely comprehend. Esteemed representatives of Earth, Zexfon's voice resonated through the chamber, translated perfectly by their advanced systems. "We come bearing the gift of elevation." Elena watched as the alien diplomat activated a holographic display that filled the chamber with images of advanced cities, ships that could fold space, and medical technologies that seemed like magic. She also noticed how each image carefully emphasized Vexeri's superiority. "However," Zexfon continued, his crystalline form shifting to deeper, more somber hues, "we must address certain concerns before proceeding with your species integration." Ambassador Patel raised an eyebrow. "Concerns, High Arbiter? Your military installations, your weapons programs, your aggressive tendencies." The Vexeri's form rippled with what might have been disapproval. "Such things have no place in an enlightened galaxy." Elena felt her jaw tighten but maintained her diplomatic smile. She'd seen this before. Different context, same story. The strong dictating terms to those they perceived as weak. "High Arbiter," she spoke up, her voice carrying the weight of authority without aggression. "Humanity's defensive capabilities ensure stability and peace. Peace through weapons." Another Vexeri, Sub-Arbiter Linvax, emitted patterns of what seemed like amusement. How primitively paradoxical. "Would you enter negotiations with no capacity to enforce agreements?" Elena asked mildly. "Or is it that you prefer your potential allies defenseless?" The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Zexfon's crystalline form shifted to a deep, pulsing purple. "Admiral Torres, we have overseen the peaceful development of 17 species. Our methods are proven. Our wisdom, absolute." Elena smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She'd spent months studying the limited data they had on these 17 species. Every one of them now served as protected partners, under Vexeri oversight. Every one of them had surrendered military autonomy for the promise of advancement. "We appreciate your concern for our development," Ambassador Patel interjected smoothly. "But surely such discussions can wait until after the integration ceremony." The ceremony proceeded, but Elena noticed how the Vexeri delegates clustered together, their crystalline forms occasionally flickering with colors she suspected represented private communication. She also noticed how their sensor arrays, supposedly deactivated for the diplomatic meeting, continued to emit regular pulses of energy. As the gathering drew to a close, Zexfon approached Elena privately. "Admiral, we hope you understand that resistance to progress is futile. The galaxy moves toward peace, with or without Earth's willing participation. Elena met the alien's gaze steadily. High Arbiter, in my experience, those who demand unconditional surrender rarely have peaceful intentions. Surrender. Zex Vaughn's form shimmered with what might have been surprise. We offer elevation, advancement, peace. Peace through submission. Elena's smile was razor-sharp. How primitively paradoxical. As the Vexari delegation departed, Elena activated her quantum-encrypted communicator. Command, this is Torres. Initiate protocol Sleeping Dragon. Authorization code, Thermopyla. The wheels had been set in motion. If the Vexari thought humanity would quietly surrender their independence for the promise of technological trinkets, they were about to learn a very expensive lesson about human nature. In the observation deck, watching the Vexari ship depart, Elena remembered an old quote, Si vis pacem, parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. The real question was, were the Vexari prepared for humanity? 3 days after the diplomatic reception, the Vexari's true intentions became crystal clear. Their massive ship, now joined by a fleet of smaller vessels, took up position in high Earth orbit. The display was meant to be intimidating. Instead, Admiral Elena Torres found it predictable. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Captain Rodriguez reported from his station in the newly activated Quantum Command Center, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. They're not even trying to encrypt it. Of course not, Elena replied, studying the holographic display showing the Vexari fleet positions. This is theater. They want an audience. The message from High Arbiter Zex Vaughn appeared on screens worldwide, his crystalline form radiating what humans were beginning to recognize as smug superiority. People of Earth, we have completed our evaluation of your civilization. For your own protection and development, we are implementing immediate oversight protocols. Elena watched as Ambassador Petal's face appeared on an adjacent screen, her expression carefully controlled. The United Earth Council rejects these terms, High Arbiter. We are not children requiring supervision. Your rejection is noted but irrelevant. Zex Vaughn's form, pulsed with colors that their cultural experts had learned indicated absolute certainty. We have detected concerning levels of military activity across your planet. Your species clearly cannot be trusted with its own security. Elena allowed herself a small smile. They'd detected exactly what humanity had wanted them to detect. The obvious facilities, the public bases, the visible deterrents. Like a magician showing the audience exactly what they expected to see. You have 24 Earth hours to begin the decommissioning of your military installations, Zex Vaughn continued. Resistance will be met with appropriate corrective measures. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in momentary silence. Then Elena's quantum-encrypted communicator chimed. Status report, she commanded. Operation Sleeping Dragon proceeding as planned, Admiral. Came the response from Colonel Yuki Tanaka, commander of Earth's hidden orbital defense grid. All stealth platforms maintaining ghost protocols. The Vexari's scans are still bouncing off our dummy satellites and our friends in the asteroid belt. Commander Wei reports all manufacturing facilities are at full capacity, still undetected. The Vexari don't seem to realize we've been preparing for something like this for decades. Elena turned to her strategic display, where red dots indicated known Vexari positions. What the aliens didn't know, what humanity had kept hidden since detecting the first hints of extraterrestrial civilization, was represented by the thousands of invisible blue dots scattered throughout the solar system. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez called out, we're detecting energy buildups in the Vexari fleet. They're charging weapons systems. Right on schedule, Elena murmured. She opened a channel to Ambassador Patel. They're about to make their demonstration of force. Probably targeting something remote and uninhabited to show they mean business. Agreed, Patel replied. The question is, do we show our hand now or wait? Elena considered the options. The Vexari, like many would-be conquerors throughout human history, had made a critical mistake. They'd assumed that humanity's visible military capabilities represented the full extent of their defensive power. They hadn't considered that a species that had spent millennia fighting itself might have learned the value of keeping a few cards hidden. Let them make their demonstration, Elena decided. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to let your opponent think they've already won. Let them make their demonstration, Elena decided. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to let your opponent think they've already won. The Vexari's show of force came exactly as predicted. A precise energy beam struck an uninhabited island in the Pacific, converting several square kilometers of rock into glass. The message was clear: submit or face the consequences. Elena activated a secure channel to all hidden military installations. This is Admiral Torres. Initiate Phase 2 of Protocol Sleeping Dragon. Maintain emissions control. Let them think their intimidation is working. Across the solar system, humanity's hidden strength stirred to life. In the depths of Earth's oceans, quantum-shielded bases powered up their defense systems. Throughout the asteroid belt, automated factories accelerated production of weapons that the Vexari hadn't even conceived of. And in laboratories buried beneath the surface of Mars, engineers made final adjustments to technologies that would make the aliens' advanced weapons look primitive. Send our response to the Vexari, Elena instructed Ambassador Patel. Tell them we wish to discuss terms of cooperation. You want to play for time? Patel asked. No, Elena's smile was wolf-like. I want them to believe they've won. Pride before the fall, Ambassador. Pride before the fall. As the diplomatic channels buzzed with messages of apparent capitulation, Elena received another secure update. The quantum entanglement network, technology the Vexari didn't believe humans possessed, reported that all systems were ready. Humanity's hidden sword was sharp, and the shield that no one knew existed was strong. Now we wait, Elena told her command staff. Let them think we're scrambling to comply with their demands. Let them believe their superior technology has cowed us into submission. She looked at the tactical display one last time before encryption rendered it invisible. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, hidden from both friends and potential foes. The Vexari were about to learn why assuming technological superiority was dangerous, and why underestimating humanity was often the last mistake an enemy ever made. The Vexari celebration lasted precisely 3 Earth days. Their fleet hung in high orbit, crystalline ships gleaming with victory lights as they prepared to oversee humanity's peaceful transition. On their command ships, they exchanged congratulations on yet another successful species integration, their forms shimmering with pride-indicating colors. Then everything went wrong. It started with their quantum communications network. The supposedly unhackable system began experiencing what their engineers called impossible disruptions. Their messages arrived scrambled, sometimes replacing military orders with Earth entertainment broadcasts about cooking competitions. Status report. Admiral Elena Torres commanded from the Strategic Operations Center, now fully activated beneath Mount Cheyenne. Operation Ghost Echo is proceeding as planned, Colonel Tanaka reported. Our quantum AI networks are having quite the conversation with their Vexari counterparts. Apparently, they're very interested in human recipes for chocolate chip cookies. Elena allowed herself a small smile. And our other initiatives. The stealth platforms are in position. Commander Wei reports the asteroid belt facilities are ready, and Project Prometheus is awaiting your command. On the primary display, Elena watched as the Vexari fleet's formation began to waver. Their ships, arranged in what was meant to be an aesthetically perfect and militarily intimidating pattern, started experiencing unexpected gravitational fluctuations. How are they handling the gravity manipulators? She asked. They're still trying to figure out if it's a natural phenomenon, Captain Rodriguez replied, amusement evident in his voice. Their sensors can't detect our platforms. As far as they're concerned, space itself is misbehaving. The Vexari response came swiftly. High Arbiter Zexfon's image appeared on their communication screens, his crystalline form pulsing with angry colors. This primitive attempt at resistance is futile. Your species will submit to proper guidance, or... The transmission cut off mid-thread, replaced by a cooking show featuring an enthusiastic chef explaining the importance of properly creaming butter and sugar. "Oops," Colonel Tanaka said innocently. "Our AI must have gotten confused about priority messages again." Elena nodded to Ambassador Patel, who had joined them in the command center. "I believe it's time for Phase 3. Patel opened a channel to the Vexeri fleet. Her voice was calm, professional, and carried just a hint of amusement. "High Arbiter, we've reviewed your generous offer of guidance. Unfortunately, we must decline. Additionally, we feel it's time to correct some misconceptions about Earth's technological capabilities." The Vexeri's response was predictable. Their fleet began charging weapons, their energy signatures building to what they considered overwhelming levels. That's when humanity revealed its first real surprise. "Activate the quantum shield grid," Elena ordered. Across Earth's orbit, thousands of previously invisible satellites shimmered into existence. Energy fields rippled between them, forming an interlocking network that encompassed the entire planet. The Vexeri scans, which had been confidently reporting Earth's defensive capabilities as primitive, suddenly couldn't penetrate the barrier at all. "Impossible." Sub-Arbiter Linvax's transmission cut through the interference. "Your species doesn't possess this level of technology. Our surveys confirmed." "Your surveys confirmed exactly what we wanted them to." Elena interrupted. "Did you really think a species that spent millennia fighting itself wouldn't learn the value of hiding its true capabilities?" In the asteroid belt, massive hangar doors began opening on what the Vexeri had dismissed as simple mining operations. Ships emerged, not the crude vessels the aliens had observed in Earth orbit, but sleek, advanced craft that incorporated technologies the Vexeri had thought impossible for humans to achieve. "Commander Wei," Elena called. "Status of the fleet." "Task Force Phoenix is ready, Admiral. The Vexeri still haven't detected our quantum drives or our advanced weapon systems. They're about to have a very educational day." Elena turned to Ambassador Patel. "Would you like to explain to our friends what happens next, or should I?" Patel stepped forward, her diplomatic training giving way to steel. "High Arbiter, humanity has a long history of offering peace first, but we also have a history of showing those who reject that peace exactly why they should have accepted it." The Vexeri fleet's formation tightened, their ships moving into what their tactical doctrine considered an impenetrable defense pattern. That's when Elena revealed another card from humanity's hidden hand. "Activate Project Prometheus," she commanded. On Mars, beneath the dust of Olympus Mons, massive particle accelerators that had been disguised as natural caverns hummed to life. The Vexeri's sensors registered the energy spike just seconds before precisely targeted beams of exotic particles began disrupting their ship's crystalline structure. "As you can see," Elena transmitted to the increasingly panicked Vexeri command, "humanity's definition of primitive might be slightly different from yours. Now, shall we discuss terms for your peaceful withdrawal, or would you prefer a more comprehensive demonstration of our capabilities?" The silence from the Vexeri fleet spoke volumes. In the command center, Elena watched as their ship's perfect formation dissolved into chaos. The mighty peacekeepers of the galaxy were about to learn that sometimes the most dangerous civilizations were the ones wise enough to hide their strength until it was needed. The Vexeri's response to humanity's revelations was exactly what Admiral Elena Torres had predicted. They lashed out. Their crystalline ships, formations now ragged and uncoordinated, launched a barrage of energy weapons that would have annihilated any conventional defense system. But humanity's defenses were far from conventional. Quantum shield grid holding at 97% capacity, Captain Rodriguez reported calmly. "Their weapons are powerful, but they're using predictable attack patterns. The AI is already adapting our defenses." Elena watched as the Vexeri's energy beams were absorbed, redirected, and in some cases, simply disappeared into subspace pockets that humanity had spent decades perfecting. Each failed attack sent ripples of confused colors through the alien fleet's crystalline hulls. "Admiral," Colonel Tanaka called out, "the Vexari are attempting to call in reinforcements. Their quantum communication arrays are at maximum power." "Let them try." Elena smiled. "Time to show them why we spent so much time studying quantum entanglement." Across the solar system, hidden quantum disruption arrays activated. The Vexari's calls for help dissolved into meaningless static. For the first time in their species' history, they were truly alone. High Arbiter Zexfon's transmission cut through the electromagnetic chaos, his crystalline form now pulsing with colors that their experts identified as a mixture of rage and fear. "This is impossible. You're violating laws of physics that your species shouldn't even understand." "An interesting assumption," Elena replied. "Did you ever wonder why humanity seemed to advance so quickly after discovering nuclear power? Did you think it was just luck that we moved from primitive flight to space travel in less than a century?" On her command screen, Elena watched as Commander Wei's forces emerged from their hidden bases in the asteroid belt. The ships moved with impossible grace, using propulsion systems that defied conventional physics. Each vessel was a testament to humanity's true technological capability, the result of reverse-engineered alien technology from crashed scouts, combined with humanity's unique talent for innovation. "You see, High Arbiter," Elena continued, "we detected your first probes centuries ago. Those primitive satellites you observed. Decoys, those basic defense systems. A facade. We learned early that it's better to be underestimated." The Vexari fleet attempted to regroup, their ships forming into a defensive sphere. That's when humanity revealed another of its hidden weapons. "Activate the quantum phase disruptors," Elena ordered. From bases hidden beneath Mars's polar ice caps, energy beams of a type the Vexari had never encountered lanced out. Where they struck, the aliens' crystalline ships began to lose coherence, their carefully engineered molecular structures destabilizing. "This is your final warning," Ambassador Patel announced, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's full military might. "Withdraw now, or we will be forced to demonstrate our offensive capabilities more thoroughly." The Vexari's response was to launch their most powerful weapon, a planet cracker beam that could theoretically shatter Earth's crust. As the massive energy beam approached Earth, Elena gave a single command: "Execute Protocol Mirror Shield." The quantum shield grid shifted, its energy patterns realigning into new configurations. The Vexari's planet cracker beam hit the shield and reflected, splitting into thousands of smaller beams that struck their own fleet. 20 of their ships shattered instantly. "By the eternal crystal," Sub-Arbiter Linvax's voice shook. "What are you?" "We are humanity," Elena replied simply. "We offered you peace. We extended friendship. You chose to threaten us instead. Now you understand why that was a mistake." From hidden bases on Mercury, Venus, Mars, and throughout the asteroid belt, humanity's full military might emerged. Ships that could bend space itself moved into attack positions. Weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe powered up. Technology that the Vexari had thought impossible for centuries to come revealed itself in overwhelming numbers. "Your species," High Arbiter Zexfon's voice had lost its condescending tone, replaced by something approaching awe. "You've been preparing for this for generations." "Longer," Elena confirmed. "We learned from our own history that peace must be protected. That strength must sometimes be hidden until needed, and that those who threaten others must be shown exactly why they shouldn't." The Vexari fleet hung in space, their perfect formations shattered, their superior technology proven obsolete, their assumptions about humanity's capabilities lying in ruins around them. They had come to uplift what they thought was a primitive species, only to find themselves facing a civilization that had surpassed them in ways they hadn't imagined possible. And in the silence that followed, as the Vexari processed the full magnitude of their miscalculation, Admiral Elena Torres prepared to demonstrate just how much more humanity had kept hidden. The solar system had become very quiet. The Vexeri fleet, once proud and imperious, now hung in space like scattered crystals, their ships' magnificent formations reduced to a defensive cluster. On Earth's tactical displays, Admiral Elena Torres watched as the aliens attempted to process the full scope of their situation. "They're scanning everything now," Colonel Tanaka reported, a hint of amusement in her voice. Finally seeing what was in front of them all along. The quantum manufacturing plants on Mercury, the gravity manipulation arrays on Venus, the Mars defense grid. And how are they handling that information? Elena asked, though she could guess from the chaotic color patterns rippling through their crystalline hulls. Their tactical computers appear to be having what humans might call an existential crisis, Captain Rodriguez answered. They're detecting technology that, according to their development models, shouldn't be possible for another 1,000 years. High Arbiter Zexfon's transmission cut through the silence, his crystalline form now pulsing with subdued colors. "Admiral Torres, we request a consultation." Elena exchanged glances with Ambassador Patel, who nodded. "Granted, High Arbiter. Though this time, we'll meet on equal terms." The meeting took place in Earth's new quantum space station, a facility that had remained phase-shifted and invisible until now. As the Vexeri delegation entered, their crystalline forms reflected the advanced technology surrounding them. Technology that matched or exceeded their own. "Your species," Zexfon began, his usual confidence notably absent, "has achieved what we thought impossible. But why hide it? Why maintain the illusion of technological inferiority?" Elena gestured to a holographic display showing Earth's history. "Because we learned from ourselves first. Every time one civilization flaunted its power over others, it led to conflict. We decided that when we joined the galactic community, we would do so carefully." "But the preparations," Sub-Arbiter Linvax interjected, their form shifting through analytical patterns. "The hidden bases, the quantum shield network, the phase-shifted facilities throughout your solar system were necessary," Ambassador Patel finished. "Humanity has a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We hoped for peaceful first contact, but we prepared for alternatives." The display shifted to show the 17 species the Vexeri had uplifted, all now dependent on Vexeri technology and guidance. "We studied your pattern of species integration," Elena continued. "We saw the price of appearing vulnerable. You could have dominated us," Zexfon realized, his colors shifting to show dawning understanding. "Your technology, your military capability, you could have conquered our civilization." "We could have," Elena agreed. "But that's not who we choose to be. Humanity learned its hardest lessons from its own history. We don't seek to dominate. We seek to prevent domination." Commander Wei's voice came through the quantum comm. "Admiral, we're detecting massive quantum fluctuations. The Vexeri reinforcement fleet has arrived at the edge of the system." Elena didn't even blink. "Show them." Throughout the solar system, more of humanity's hidden strength revealed itself. Defensive platforms phased into visibility around every planet and major moon. Ships emerged from subspace pockets, their quantum drives humming with power. The full extent of Earth's preparation became clear. They had turned the entire solar system into an interconnected defense network. "Call off your reinforcements, High Arbiter," Elena suggested quietly. "Then let's discuss what real peaceful cooperation looks like." The Vexeri leader's form rippled with new colors, ones their experts identified as recognition and respect. Within moments, the reinforcement fleet began withdrawing. "Perhaps," Zexfon said slowly, "we have misunderstood the nature of advancement. We saw your military capability as a sign of primitiveness, when it was actually a sign of wisdom." Ambassador Patel completed. "The wisdom to know that peace must be protected. That strength doesn't have to be displayed to be effective." In the days that followed, a new treaty was formed, not one of submission or dominance, but of genuine cooperation. The Vexeri began to understand that true civilization wasn't about forcing peace through superiority, but about maintaining it through mutual respect and preparation. "You've changed everything," Zexfon admitted during the treaty signing. "The other species we guided, they'll want independence now. They'll need help transitioning," Elena agreed. "Real help, not supervision. Perhaps that's something our species can work on together." As the Vexeri fleet departed Earth's space, not in retreat but in partnership, Elena stood at the quantum station's observation deck. The stars seemed different now, not just lights in the darkness, but a frontier where humanity had proven itself ready to take its place. Was it worth it? Ambassador Patil asked, joining her at the window. "All those years of preparation, hiding our true capabilities." Elena watched as the last Vexeri ship disappeared into quantum space, their crystalline hull glinting with colors that now indicated respect rather than superiority. "We've achieved something rare in history," she replied. "We've earned peace through strength without having to fully demonstrate that strength. And we've gained allies who now understand why peace should be protected rather than imposed." In the end, humanity had shown the galaxy something new. That true power lies not in domination, but in the wisdom to know when and how to use one's strength. The stars awaited, and humanity was ready to explore them, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars through patience, preparation, and the wisdom to know that sometimes the best victory is the one achieved without fighting at all.